everyone has something that they can trade with each other to elevate everyone that's around.
Yeah.
One thing that I really regret is the owner, and for the love of me, I do not remember the guys. It's probably Mike. I think the guy's name is Mike Mert. He, the pub, he tried to get me to go down to the bog and cut moss. I think it's moss or turf. That's what it's called. And apparently it's really rough and super hard. I didn't take him up on it, and I kind of regret it because it would have been such a like cool experience to go and do that, you know, but
Yo, what's up, everyone? I believe this is episode 20 of Inside the Box.
Yeah.
We're getting up there, which is good.
Nice.
The goal is to get to, 500 or whatever. That's going to take a while. But anyways, we're joined here today by my good friend, Alex Wiwel. And he has some different pseudo names or whatever that we want to call it that we can get into later. But we're going to talk about traveling. We're going to talk about life, his businesses.
Yeah.
Keep the theme of entrepreneurship going as well. But Alex, if you could give the audience a little bit of an intro about yourself and what you've been up to, that'd be great.
my name's Alex Wiwel. A lot of people know me back home as just Wiwel because there's way too many Alexes in this world, so that got cut off when I was younger. But I'm from North Carolina, grew up in North Carolina, went to school at the University of Pittsburgh, so I lived up there for about 4 years. I moved back down to North Carolina last year, bought a house, kind of tried to settle down a little bit. That didn't really work, and now I'm out here.
Right on.
Yep.
Well, I'm super happy to have you. It's been 3 years since I've
3 years. Yep.
Wow. It feels like I've been hanging out with you every single week. So
Dude, it's actually a joy to have you around. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been really fun. We've been up to everything.
Yeah.
We can.
This weekend's been absolutely electric. Just to give you guys an idea of what we've been up to. Friday night, did you hang out with us Friday night?
I hung out. Yes, that's we did the custody exchange on Friday. Yes, with
I
Audrey.
picked you up from your friends who were hosting you before.
Yes, yeah.
And then we came back here and hung out for a while and got some food. And then went out to a house party or housewarming party. It was fantastic. Everyone there was super cool. Some future guests of the pod probably coming from that house party.
And a past guest was on.
And a past
it was Ismail from
Ismail with Amrad Reductions. He threw an amazing house party. Thank you, Ismail. That was wonderful. And from
We went to the Lafayette.
Yeah, it was smells fun.
Very cool hotel in
70s house.
Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool.
wonderful hotel. And then
Yesterday was
electric too. We woke up here. I believe we went out to the coffee shop and got some coffees and stuff and kind of regrouped. And Henry came back from hanging out with some friends, and we all went to the surf ride event that was going on and hung out at San Leo campground.
saw a
concert as well.
played hacky sack.
Played frisbee. A lot of wonderful stuff going on there. It was one of my favorite bands from San Luis Obispo was there. Shout out Poncho and the Wizards. You guys
love those guys.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Someone tag them or something.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And then to top that off, we went to a Muay Thai fight at the end of the night, and that was incredible.
Shout out Mark. Really frustrated some ass.
Shout out Tarna Bedelman, also Muay Thai fighter from North Carolina, supporting you all the way out here in California, supporting the scene. It was pretty cool, pretty fun to see how you can fly over 2,500 miles and go to an event that's like almost exactly the same on the East Coast and West Coast. One of the only few places in the world you can do something like that.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
And then today we got some nice brunch, and now we're just kicking it and filming a pod, man. So
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people would be so curious to hear about how you own a fucking house at 23, and also your business sort of acumen that you've gotten yourself into.
I'm curious, how did you?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I always grew up kind of with that entrepreneurial spirit. My father, when he was younger, he owned a business up in Pittsburgh that he sold before he moved down to North Carolina when he got his full-time job. And I kind of grew up always hearing him and about how he had wished he continued to own a business and was in like that entrepreneurial scene. So when I was younger, that kind of like, when your dad talks about the type of stuff, it can ingrain into your head. And my dad's a huge influence in my life. And so I think from a young age, I was like, I want to do what, like the thing that my dad always talked about wanting to do. And so I started a couple smaller businesses in high school. just doing odd job type stuff. The first business that I really made any real money off of was actually selling fidget spinners, if you guys remember what those were. Yeah, no, I was lucky enough that my father had built a 3D printer when I was in like 4th grade, knock on having having an engineer as a father does come with a couple perks. And so he built one from scratch before anybody knew what they were.
What a trip.
And so when I was in high school, I kind of got tipped off about the whole fidget spinner thing before they like blew up. Like I saw one person with it in school. I was like, oh, I can make these on our 3D printer and then sell them. And so I made them. I like got the design. You I'd whip the design up, and then I would just print them like overnight, and then put them together in the morning before school. Started just at my school, just like going through the hallways, just selling them to people, $10 a pop. And then after I started like saturating the market at my school, I reached out to a bunch of other kids I knew at all the local public schools, and then started like bulk selling. And that was a good lesson on like kind of hiring people. I originally tried to like be like, oh, I'll give you a stock of 50 and then you sell them and then take like a commission or blah, blah. But then people would like lose them or lie about selling them. And then like, I was like, what's going on? So I found out a better way of approaching that model was just go bulk. So bulk sale to like your distributors in the different schools and then have those kids go out. You already have, I was 14 at the time. It was my freshman year of high school.
Oh yeah.
And so I would bulk, sell them to different students around all the public schools, for 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and then they would go out and sell them for full price. So I did that for like 2 months, and just like a lot of those high school fads, like they go up real hard and they crash really quick.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw that coming, especially with like Amazon and China, and there was no way that I was going to be able to scale to the level of like those companies that would be able to make them for like, 2 cents a pop.
Yeah.
So the funniest part of the whole story was that I just ended up gathering up every single piece of equipment that I had, besides the 3D printer itself, like all the leftover parts and whatnot that I had. And I sold everything to someone, like the whole company package. I was like, everything I had. So I sold the whole business off to somebody, like the rights to sell on like the designs and all the stuff. Sold it all off and it was like, hey, I'll give you like an indefinite contract if you need me to print more material for you. Like I'll sell it to you for, 10 cents on the dollar or whatnot. And as soon as I sold everything off to him, like 2 weeks later, the whole bottom fell out. And so it was actually pretty cool.
Wait,
it was like,
how this was like a official business?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
What was the structure of it?
It was just an LLC. Yeah.
wow.
And yeah.
And we'll see at 14.
Yeah. Well, I had to, my parents have to co-sign on everything. Like it was a joint bank account and stuff too, pretty much.
I find
And the funny thing too was that like my mom being in banking and accounting, like she was like my accountant for me.
that's
And another small sub story from that was I remember my parents dropped me off at the bank and I went to the teller and I had like all of this cash and I was just like 14-year-old kid just showing up at the bank with like, and this was like people's lunch money and shit. Like, so it was pretty like crumbled up and like beat up. And so I'm at like the bank and they're like, where you, like, you're 14, like, where are you getting all this money from? Like, they totally thought I was selling drugs.
Yeah.
And so I told them, I was like, yeah, I am selling drugs. I'm selling like ADHD drugs. And I pull out like a fidget spinner. I'm like, you want to buy one? I'm like, these are what I sell. And she's like, that's incredible. I actually ended up selling one to the teller. No. Yeah. Same thing where I would take like Ubers to random locations, like random Chick-fil-A's and do handoffs of the product, which was just these fidget spinners. And I'd hand a guy like a bag of like 300 of them. I'd check to make sure I had all the cash and then get back in the Uber and like just drive me right back home. And the guy's like, dude, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're 14, like, don't throw your life away selling drugs, kid. And I'm like, no, this is what I'm doing. And I like sell one to the Uber driver, Dude. He was like, what? It was so funny. Yeah, a lot of Ubers before I could drive. But that was like my first, dude. Yeah. Ubering all around Karen. Yeah, no.
You should. I didn't know that.
Yup. No, literally. I would was ordering all these Ubers to random faces to sell these things to this kid. It was crazy. My parents thought I was insane. I was kind of insane, but it was a fun time while it lasted. But what that was kind of another lesson that I learned out of the whole thing was, when I was a freshman in high school, I made like a decent amount of money. Like, it wasn't anything crazy, but like, if you make over 4 figures as a like 14-year-old in high school, especially on the East Coast where your money goes real far. I was like, I'm never going to college. I'm never like getting a job. I was like, I'm the king of the world, And then I ended up burning through a lot of money over the course of like 2 years. And actually, was kind of why I ended up getting into moving, was because I burned off a lot of that fidget spinner money by the time I got to like
the lavish
the end of my the end of my junior year. It wasn't my
sports cars and
no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. But
Dude, so and then you went into moving, which is your current business.
yeah, so kind of.
Talk about the evolution of all that. That's
Yeah. So
fidget spinners to where you are now.
yeah, so I shout out Will Austin and Bob Austin first off. I would never be where I am with any of my businesses if it wasn't for them two. So Will is my age, and his dad Bob owned this like small moving company in North Carolina. And I had known Will. Me and Will kind of grew up together, and we were like loose friends all through middle school. Like we knew each other. And we went to high school together, and we kind of became closer friends in high school. And it actually all kind of stemmed from my father. He always talked about how Will's dad set up the best gig for Will to work in school, because Will's dad pretty much started this moving company so he could hire his son and like all of his son's friends, and then just not make any profit on it and just pretty much pay them as like, $20 an hour. And our minimum wage is $7.25. So 20 an hour was huge for us in high school.
Insane.
It's massive.
More than double, yeah.
More than double. So I ended up getting, I ended up asking Will if I could work for him and his dad. And they were like, yeah, for sure. Once I kind of got into that like loop, I took like every shift I could. Like for a year and a half, almost like 2 years of doing it, I tried to work every single shift I could get on, just because I knew not only did I need to make money, but I also wanted to get like as much experience as possible in that industry. I kind of knew when I went off to college that I wanted to start a business, and I was like, this is what I've got the most skill in, so this is probably the direction I'm going to go in. Mm-hmm. So then when I was deciding where to go to college, I applied to like 12 different schools all up and down the East Coast, actually a couple out west as well. And what I was doing was I did what's called market gap analysis. And so I studied the markets, the moving markets in all of these cities across the where I was applying for colleges. That was a big like reason that I ended up going to Pitt, was all of the market gap analysis I did. Like it just kept on coming back to me, Pittsburgh. Not only did I have my family roots there, but all the numbers just said, go here and do this. Like the competition was low. Like I knew the labor pool would be good because it's like solid students, and the culture. And I don't think either of you guys have been there before, but the culture in Pittsburgh is like nothing you've ever seen before. Like it is blue collar, roughneck, like get your work done and grind it out. I think it's actually one of the reasons why I was so successful going to school up there, is because that city surrounds you with good, hardworking, honest people. People that aren't trying to just like, get the quick win. Right. People that aren't trying to like, do whatever they can to milk the maximum amount of money out of people. People that are honest, hardworking people that just want to take care of their families and do good.
I think that says a lot about your kind of business mindset in ways, because we've talked about like get rich slowly and how that's like, it's not a sexy thing in any way, but it's like that's just kind of who you are as a person. It's like you're okay with stuff taking a long time as long as you're doing like honest good work.
I like how you say like it's not a sexy thing, because Pittsburgh is not a sexy city.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
But it's but it's a great city. And it's the people and the culture of the hardworking people in Pittsburgh that make it the city that it is, and if it wasn't for that culture, not only do I think I would not have been nearly as successful with my business, but I also don't think I would have been able to graduate college with the degree that I did. Like
what'd you graduate with?
I studied industrial engineering from the University of Pittsburgh.
Very difficult degree.
And it ebbs and flows. Within the engineering community, it's probably widely considered as one of the more easier engineering degrees, just because it's a little bit more statistical and business-based. But for me, especially, I struggled a lot academically growing up. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm super dyslexic. And so I struggled I struggled greatly with reading and writing, growing up. And I shout out to my first grade elementary school teacher, Miss Burdett, who actually caught my dyslexia at a young age, which was really, really good. And my parents were able to get me into cognitive therapy when I was younger. And just like any type of stuff, like there's always the spectrum of like dyslexia, like, you know, how dyslexic you are versus, you know, how good it is. And I was probably like, when I was younger, like I was like an 8 out of 10. Like I couldn't read, you know, like in first grade and second grade when everyone was reading, like I straight up couldn't read, couldn't write. But because they caught it at such a young age, by the time I got to like 4th and 5th grade, I was probably more like a 5, you know, like a 4 or 5. And that's kind of where it's kind of where I've stabilized. You know, I'm probably like a 4 or 5 out of 10 now on the dyslexic scale.
Describe that a little bit.
Describe like what you did through the night here. Dyslexia. Well, yeah, no, you'd know the most.
So for me, and it's a little different for everybody, but the biggest things that I've always struggled with has been reading. You know, like when I get a big paragraph of words together, you know, like I can't really read fast at all, or else everything just looks like it's one line. You know, letters get flipped around, twisted around. That's like the first thing. And the second thing is writing. So a perfect example is there are times where I write something out or even type something on the computer, and there might be like 2 or 3 letters that are flipped or wrong in that word, but I know how to spell the word. Like if someone asked me how to spell it, I could tell you how to spell it. Even my spelling is not good. I'm talking about like simple words, but I can read that word 10 times and my brain is like, it's correct. And like I'm seeing it the correct way. I'm seeing it the correct way, but it's wrong, you know, and it's just the way that the brain's wired. Now, the nice thing is about now, especially with technology with dyslexia, is AI. AI is literally the dyslexic saver. Like I completely agree. It has been huge for me. I need to get you know, it's the reason why I've been able to do like all of the kind of like some of the writing stuff that I've been able to do, and like it really helps me with emails and whatnot, and when I'm trying to send stuff out to customers. But back to kind of my previous point, in middle school when I was doing all the therapy and stuff and whatnot, my parents got me into like accommodations and stuff when I was younger in middle school. The problem was there's like a social aspect to that. And, you know, as a young kid of middle school, like you don't want to be like the stupid kid who like, you know, has a problem and then has to go away for the test, and everybody knows that, like, you know. And also when I got in high school, I really saw a lot of kids like really taking advantage of it. Like parents that knew that they could just go and pay some therapist to write a note to get their kid more time on the exam for like anxiety or something, you know.
Yeah, I've had experience with that.
And I really didn't like
in high school.
I really it frustrated me seeing that. And then obviously a lot of people in high school who worked really, really hard to get the grades they did and succeed in school and get into the colleges that they did, like they always felt kind of like those other people were cheating them out a little bit, especially when they knew that like they really didn't need to have that type of accommodation. So in high school, I didn't get accommodation, and I was like, I'm just gonna power through this myself, like just mental will. I don't really want anybody to know I have this like issue, and so I'm not gonna tell anybody. And I talked to my parents about it, and they're like, you know, do what you need to do. And so I went through high school without any accommodation, and it was a struggle. You know, like I was like a B student with the occasional C, and I got a D like somewhere in there in high school as well. And I distinctly remember more than anything, you know, I know it's not as critical now with people applying to colleges. Yeah. And so when I took the SAT, I took it 3 times, and the highest score I got on the SAT was a 1090. And if anybody knows anything about SAT, that's not very good. And that's probably in like the 40th percentile.
Yeah.
You know, and so I struggled with that type of test taking and whatnot just because of all the reading, you know, and the writing and whatnot. And so that was a kind of part of the struggle when applying to schools. But just like anything, like if you put your mind to it, like there's always a will of kind of like I don't want to say getting around that type of stuff. But the nice thing with like having a human aspect of like college applications, like there was a way where I could, you know, because of like my essays and whatnot and the things that I had done, the extracurriculars I had done in high school, really is what helped me, you know, get into colleges.
I feel very similar about my experience getting into college because I was very bad at math. My test scores on the SAT and the ACT for mathematics were not good. But I was a good writer, and I knew how to write, and I knew how to appeal to the people that would be reading my essays. And I thought about like how they would be reading it and how they would see like a successful student. And I got a perfect score on the ACT for writing. So I think that allowed me to kind of take advantage of that human aspect of things.
This brings me to another point, because I feel like for me, I was super good in school. Like, I was always good in school. What I found with interviewing like a lot of people who, are entrepreneurs and stuff, they're not like success is not determined by your intelligence as far as school and academics go.
It's like your willpower.
It's your willpower.
It's your willpower. And it's more, I think that thinking that you're smart is actually a bigger it hinders you
more. Yeah.
Than like you would think. Okay, you think you're really smart.
Work harder. You try harder if you feel like you're behind, or you feel like you have to catch up and stuff like that.
And that's something like I'm trying to apply in my life is be like, okay, let me not think about myself as like a smart person.
Yeah.
Let me think about how I do things. Like, how can I do something, and like use more effort and will versus like
So there's there's one story that I want to say real quick. And I think that a lot of people, you can apply this to a lot of different aspects of your life and not just like college applications. But for me, it's a college application story. And it was actually not the school that I went to. It was my father really, really wanted me to go to Virginia Tech, which is, shout out Hokies, where my brother goes right now.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if I wanted to go there, but I definitely knew I was going to apply. And they're a pretty competitive engineering school. And I'd already gone into Pitt when I applied. So I figured if there was any chance I was going to go to VT, I might as well apply for like the hardest program. So I decided to go and apply for their aerospace engineering program, which is the hardest program to get into there, at least when I was applying. And I think it still is. The problem was all of my grades and test scores, like not even close to like what they needed to be. And what I ended up doing, I was like, something's going to have to happen here if I have any chance of getting in. And so back in that, it was like November of my senior year of high school, we were studying in physics, global orbits and how like an orbit works and the gravitational pull of an orbit. And I don't know how I came up with it, but I got this idea. I was like, man, I bet you that I could design something, put something together that could fly around the world, like unmanned, and like track it. Like, it'd be a really cool amateur thing to try to do. And so I went around my high school and I was like, does anybody want to bet me $500 that before we graduate high school, I can fly something around the earth, around the world? And everyone was like, you're freaking crazy. Like, no. Or actually, most people were like, you'll probably try to do it and I'm not going to take you up for the bet. But this one kid who I ended up being good friends with out of this whole thing, Luke Coyle, shout out United States Marine Corps and U.S. Navy, go Navy.
Troops.
Yep. And so he took me up on the bet. And he's like, there's no way you can do this. So we wrote up a whole contract to the stipulations. Like, it couldn't be, like, you weren't allowed to, like, ship something around the world. Like, it had to be in the air, but it didn't have to actually be in what's called, like, a scientific orbit. Like, it could be 40,000 feet up in the jet stream, but it couldn't be, like, on an airplane. It couldn't have any type of, like, human interaction once it left the ground. And we had, like, all of these different rules and stipulations. So I ended up working, and my father also kind of helped work with me on this as well. We had done in the past, we had done a lot of like amateur balloon launches where we send these balloons up into the near space and take pictures of like the curvature of the earth. So I grew up doing a lot of that with my dad, and this was kind of in the similar realm. And we put together a payload with this like Mylar hydrogen balloon. And we put 2 GBSs on it, both powered by solar panels, like a shortwave and long wave antenna essentially. And we launched this thing in it was like January, February, my senior year, like right before COVID, from the front lawn of my high school. And the idea was that it would get up into the jet stream and fly across the jet stream around like the whole earth. It was kind of a long shot, and people had done stuff like this before, but there's really, like, I'm an amateur doing it, there's really only like a 20 or 30% chance of it succeeding. And what I did was, because, like any good entrepreneur, I'm a little bit of a gambler. In my college essay to Virginia Tech, I said, I'm working on this project. Here's all the information where you can go online and track this balloon. And I was like, you are not going to accept me into your program because my grades are not good. My test scores are not good. But what you are going to do is you're going to put me on the wait list. You're going to watch my balloon fly around the world. And after my balloon flies around the world once, you're going to accept me into your program because you're going to have no other choice. That was what my essay was. Yeah, to Virginia Tech. That was the essence of it. And so I launched the balloon from the front lawn of the school. It was like a bunch of people came out and whatnot. And lo and behold, it actually ended up flying around the world 5.5 times before we last contact of it. Yeah.
No.
And it was crazy because the whole school was watching. I actually had a Twitter page that would keep track of the updates and whatnot. And you go dark when you go over both oceans, the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And so it went off the coast and then just like reappeared off the coast of Africa and like crossed the Middle East, flew over China. Like it was this whole crazy thing. Like they were like, I don't know if it's really legal, like it's a legal gray area, whether or not you're allowed to do what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then it went over the Pacific Ocean and literally just came, literally north coast of California is where it reappeared on, and then kind of went down through the Midwest and then crossed over kind of that line in Florida when it made the first circumnavigation. Yeah, it flew for almost 2 months.
It was a beautiful project.
Wow.
And the day after it made its first lap around the world, I got an email. I got accepted into Virginia Tech's program. Yeah, dude. So it's not all about your grades, but sometimes if you really want to do something or you really want to make yourself stick out, you just got to find something that's part of your niche that you can go and do. That's going to make you stick out.
What are you good at? What do you love to do? What excites you?
Yeah.
And go after that and embrace it. I feel like that's the main sort of like message.
I mean, find something, anything in your life that you think is like makes you uniquely you. And then find something based off of that, like something that you can do. And it doesn't have to be that big, like not even as big as like what I was doing before, but anything that's going to make you uniquely stick out versus everybody else, and I think the biggest thing too was like my opening line of that essay was like, you're not going to accept me into your program. I mean, could you imagine you're opening up you talk about trying to catch someone's, that's a hook. You're like, this kid just spent $150 on an application. Like, what's going on here? You need something like that,
Do you apply that to your businesses?
For sure. I think I apply that mentality to a lot of what I do. I think the production company has kind of definitely had aspects of that in it. Yeah, I mean, I had never really been to Minnesota before. I didn't really know anybody else up there to help me out. But when the customer called me up, I was like, yeah, we can do this. I can do this. I know I can figure it out. I know I'll figure out how to find the people. When I took that bet and I sent the application out for, Virginia Tech, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. I just believed in myself, and I was like, my biggest thing is like, I always I love gambling on myself, like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Betting on yourself is always the best bet that you can possibly.
That's something I think
it pushes you.
All entrepreneurs share.
Yeah.
They're willing to bet on themselves.
Yeah.
And they're willing to take on risk, like a lot of risks.
That's what you have to be able to do. Yeah.
And stomach it and really just sit with the risks that you're taking and be okay with that.
Just knowing that, whatever happens, I have confidence in myself. I can figure it out. I can figure out a solution.
I kind of like get the deal and then figure out everything else after. So
right.
If I got a contract out here, I'm a big fake it till you make it guy. And like, they were like, hey, this is what we need. This is what we're going to do. I'd be like, yes, I can do it. And then I'd fill in like all the blanks after that.
We could help
come out here.
Contract.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, if you guys can help me get a contract, then obviously if you guys help me pull Eden, like we'll all make money off of it.
I'm pretty slammed with all of this stuff that I have going on.
Yeah.
I can definitely.
But I think him is a good person.
And I'm not talking like this isn't going to be like your full-time, but like if you can find like, it's really just trying to find production companies. And what I was telling him was like, the whole, like when we went to the fight last night, like the production company that put the fight on, I think what I'm going to do, this gave me an idea I was thinking last night, is I think I'm going to put together a list of all of like the production companies, small and large, like in Southern California. and just see if like
And I could just
call, you know what I mean? And like, just I'll try to call him, you try to call him, you know, and then see also maybe if anybody has any type of like personal connection in any of them,
Yeah.
you know, and just like tell them what we do,
Yeah.
you know.
In the comment section below, if you know anything about production companies in Southern California, or you have recommendations for people that want to,
Actually, I know someone in Long Beach.
then drop something below and give Alex a little bit of a connection there.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I want to just jump into travel stories because I'm a huge travel fanatic, and not as much as you are.
Well, yeah.
Tell them about the Frontier Airlines.
Well, I think the best way of talking about this is how we met.
Yes.
I think that's actually, I think the best way of segmenting this is just a story about how me and Lucas met. So back in 2023, it was in between my junior and senior year of college, and I just turned 21, and I decided that I wanted to explore more of the U.S. because I had done a lot of travel outside the U.S., but really hadn't traveled within the U.S. that much. And so I got this deal like on a whim with Frontier Airlines. It was a $400 flight pass where you paid $400 up front, and then you could basically fly to any major U.S. city because they fly to all the major U.S. cities for $15 per flight after the $400 up front. But the only caveat was that you couldn't book the flight until 24 hours before the flight took off. So you really had to be flexible about like where you were going to go, you know, because you could literally like, oh, I'm planning to go to this place, but then in the morning you're like, well, I can't get on that flight, so now am I going to stay here or am I going to go somewhere else? You know, so you really had to be flexible with where exactly you're going to travel to, and so that allowed me to backpack pretty much across a bunch of different states in the U.S. Fly around. Actually, I was doing a lot of disc golfing. That's kind of how I grounded myself. I would find like disc golf courses to go and visit at different states.
And that's how you'd meet new people.
And that's how I would meet. Every time I would go there and meet new people at a disc golf course, then we would like, sometimes we hang out for lunch. Sometimes they even give me a place to crash. Like I met people on the disc golf Reddit that would pick me up from an airport to go play around with me.
Golf.
Yeah,
I'm going to go play disc golf later.
We should.
I have my disc. I brought them.
You brought him?
Yeah, I brought them.
Okay, we'll probably be playing disc golf later.
Anyways, so pretty much one of my neighbors from back home, their daughter was graduating from UCSD, and they were like, hey, like if you're in San Diego, just happen to be in San Diego, like you should come to this graduation party. So I was like, yeah, like I'll come. So I kind of like planned to meander my way to San Diego, and I had never been to California before. And so I flew to San Diego, well, actually backtrack. Yeah, it was my first time in California. My friend whose graduation I was going to see, they were like staying at a hotel and whatnot, so I wasn't going to be able to crash with them. And, you know, with the whole backpacking thing, you know, I was either like camping or like sleeping in the airport. Like I really wasn't paying for accommodation because I was also in college, and I also just enjoyed kind of like the thrill of that whole thing,
Yeah.
you know,
Adventure.
and the adventure of it all. Yeah. And so I went on to Reddit, and it was actually on it was on the UCSD Reddit. It wasn't on the SDSU Reddit.
Because Aiden went to
UCSD. So I was on the UCSD Reddit, and I posted, I was like, hey, does anybody have a place for me to crash? I'm coming for my friend's graduation. Don't have a hotel room, blah, blah. And I've done this more than once, and I've met various people from Reddit and crashed with various people. Like, yeah, you are the most connected of anybody that you're really the only person I think from that whole thing. One other guy, actually, I'm also still friends with from Denver. Shout out, what's his name now? I can't remember. I just got engaged. Anyways, still coming. Ross Moore. Shout out Ross Moore. Pilot.
Good save.
Yeah, pilot now. Ross Moore. I love you, Ross. Congrats on the engagement. So
cheers, man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So he's also got enough from it. But so when when was it Aiden, your roommate? Aiden, when your roommate Aiden,
Yeah.
I always would get a lot of flack, especially in California, posting on Reddit. Like people were like, you're gonna get your head chopped off, or you loser, like don't put this on here. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that were like really clowning on me online, but I got a pretty thick skin, so it doesn't really bug me. But then Aiden was like serious. He was like, hey man, got an extra couch. PM me, like we'll get it linked up.
Your bro's on Reddit.
So we DM'd.
He's the smartest. Shout out Aiden Garabi.
Yeah.
My future doctor, my future heart surgeon or whatever.
Great guy.
Hopefully I don't need heart surgery, God forbid. But if I do, he's my speed dial.
Cardiac specialist.
And maybe if you need plastic surgery, he might be able to help out with that too in the future. God forbid you'd want that too. You're beautiful. Don't change. But anyways, he is. I don't know why the fuck or how the fuck he was on Reddit,
But he was.
he was,
And yeah,
and he responded to him. And
he responded to me.
Yeah.
And so I was actually so we set up like a FaceTime call. And I was actually at the beach in North Carolina when I FaceTimed him doing some other stuff. And he's like, you seem like a chill dude. Like your Instagram looks chill. Like he's like, seem like a normal dude. Like, let's do it. Like crash. So then a week later, I bought the, the date came and I flew out here, and I said I'd never been to San Diego before, and my neighbors picked me up from the airport, and I was like, yeah, I'm staying with these people I like know, and they knew I didn't like know them. They knew kind of loosely how I had met you guys, and they dropped me off at your apartment.
Pulls up to our literally shittiest apartment complex in all of Estes.
And
The cheapest rent. There was robberies that happened there. It was right next to one of the fraternities.
I do remember my parents and my friend, like, who dropped me off. They were like, please tell us your location. Please tell us when you're like alive. Like if these people aren't gonna like kill you. I was like, guys, it's gonna be fine. Full comments. So I walked in, and I knocked on the door, met your other roommate, and walked in, and they were like, I put my stuff down, kind of started shooting the shit with them a little bit. And they're like, hey man, like we're having a pregame. Like I hope you're a social guy because like we got a lot of people coming over. I was like, oh, right up my alley. Yeah. Immediately started doing shots. Like within 15 to 20 minutes of meeting these guys, we're doing shots on the counter. And then like 20 people came in for this pregame. Like it was nuts.
It was we were the party apartment.
Yeah, yeah.
We would host parties every weekend for I think like 3 months straight. It was pretty crazy.
And we went out and party, and Lucas wasn't even there.
Yeah.
And
it was out of town or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Just do something. And so the next morning I woke up hungover, and Lucas used to come stumbling in the morning, and I meet you, and we just started talking, and you were like, you want to surf? Like, we'll take you out to surf. And, we just started talking about life and the things that we enjoy. And I don't know. I think what I always tell Lucas is like, there's definitely been not a lot, but a few people I've met in my life where like, the moment that I met them, they say you make 90% of your judgments of somebody within 30 seconds of meeting them for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And
makes sense.
And the moment that I met Lucas, like within the first 30 seconds, I was like, this guy I'm gonna be like best friends with. Like
I would think too.
I like you just know, there's something in your head that just clicks. And I knew we were gonna just be best buds, and we ended up going out and surfing, which was a struggle for me. You guys put me in a pretty tough situation. But yeah, and despite that, yeah.
Isn't it Winning Sea?
No, I don't know. It was somewhere down
Like Pacific Beach or something.
it was Pacific Beach, I think. Yeah, I think it was rough wherever, but on a shortboard. And so I never surfed before, and so even after all of that, me and you ended up hanging out for like 3 more days.
Yeah, we just the entire time.
Yep. And then we just hit it off, and we ended up hanging out a bunch more that summer. We went to that concert in Vegas. I took you to this Zach Bryan concert in Vegas. Dude, it was incredible.
That's the awesome part about traveling. Yeah, you just meet the coolest people.
Yeah, I know. Like it's incredible.
I encourage every single person, all 5 of you that are listening to this right now, to just go out and of your comfort zone and travel. In your city, in your state, outside of your state,
Just go somewhere random. Like, go.
I mean, that's what
and talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk to don't talk to strangers that like look sketchy or what. I don't know, but also
yeah. I actually I owe a lot of that part of my personality and life to my mother, who she was the big traveler and socializer and whatnot, and always stayed in touch with all of her friends that she met traveling and whatnot. My dad traveled a lot as well, but all of his was pretty much for work. Mm-hmm. My mom did a lot more study abroad type stuff and was really good at staying in touch with those people. And both my parents, but especially my mom, were really encouraged that part of my life. The first, what are you saying?
I feel the same way about my mom. Like, she lived in a couple of different countries in her life, and she's always been the type of person who just talk to a stranger.
Yeah, my mom's the same way. Yeah, and
same with my dad, honestly, too.
Yeah, same with my dad for sure.
And like, it's kind of a skill that you can develop even if you're not good at it at first.
I agree. Yeah.
Like I think the coolest thing, I don't know if I've talked to you about this, but having like an introverted friends and then seeing them like come out of their shell
Yep.
and like become extroverted or like morph themselves to like meeting people or like
Shout out Tony Roble from college. He was like that when I remember he gave a speech when we graduated about how he learned that took this to heart. But he learned in school, he was a straight A student all the way even through college. He was like the valedictorian of our class, and he said that some of the biggest lessons he learned from school were taught outside of the classroom, through me and me introducing to people and getting him out of his shell. And he really realized that school, and his grades weren't the most important thing. The most important thing are the people that you have around you.
That's like, just what we were talking about earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not about, how well you score on the tests.
And as you said, Lucas, it's really cool watching people like realize that.
Dude, that is probably such a rewarding feeling.
It is. I like it. To me,
You changed his life.
And he helped me graduate from college as well. Like I would never have graduated without all of those guys, Tony, Rye, my whole crew in college. They really helped carry me.
In our last podcast, like the guy was talking about, he's like, everyone has something and it's like a puzzle piece. You can fit it all together. It's not like I trade you for this. It's like not black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I might have, I don't want to use the same exact analogy, but it's like everyone has something that they can trade with each other to elevate everyone that's around them.
Yeah.
Like that guy, he's good at school. You helped him introduce people. Everyone has something to share that can just kind of bring up the overall situation that everyone's in.
And I'm a big quotes that I've been trying to live by more is that comparison is the thief of joy. And if you don't have to compare yourself to what other people are offering, you can just try and work on understanding like what you bring to the table, what you can offer people, and how that kind of sharing can benefit people in the best way possible.
Yeah, comparison. And I've fallen victim to that many times. Everyone matters, it's hard not to compare yourself, for sure. But continuing with the travel bit, if you want, Lucas.
Yeah, especially with Instagram and
yeah. Let's start with a little bit of travel stories, and we'll call it a
yeah. No. So the whole thing I did, around the U.S., a lot of fun. My first time I ever traveled to Europe first time I ever traveled to Europe by myself was in high school, my senior year. My freshman year of high school, and I had a couple of friends out in Iceland that I actually went and visited, and then I ended up crazy story, I traveled to Europe twice in 2020 before the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah, the beginning of the year, right after New Year's, and then the beginning of February, both before the pandemic hit.
So you went there and back?
Went there and back. Yeah, I went with my...
Couldn't get enough.
One of my best friends, Conrad Moss. It was a great experience. He's French, and that was like an amazing trip. I've gone back to Europe with him a couple times. He lived in Paris for a little while, and then I went to my school as well, which was fun. But yeah, and then once I when I was in college, I did a couple of Europe trips as well. With one of my roommates. We used to do these crazy like weekend trips to Europe. It was before I was 21. We'd fly out there for like 4 days. And I was always like trying to twist my roommate's arm to come. Flynn Dimkowski went out to visit Will, actually a guy from earlier who had that moving company in high school. He did a study abroad. That was a crazy trip. Went out to Valencia, Spain, and just crazy partying, sleeping on the beach, and that was when I learned that your passport needs to have 3 months on it to go to Europe and come back, which I knew that already. But if you go to Africa, you need 6 months left on your passport. And I booked a return flight. My passport had 3.5 months left on it, so I thought I was fine. And it let me like book this flight and whatnot because I was only staying in Europe. But turned out I had a layover in like northern Africa in Casablanca. And so when I tried to fly from Spain to where my layover was, they were like, you can't get on the airplane. And so I had to book a last minute airplane ticket to Europe, not to Europe, to England, and visited another one of my friends who's actually flying out here a couple weeks and crashed with her. And then my college roommate, we did this. Like he flew down to Africa. I flew up to England, and then we both met in New York and landed like 20 minutes apart a day later. It was pretty fun. Yeah.
Sick.
But stuff like that, I mean, that's a perfect example is when you're going to travel, I think the biggest key, and even when you're not just when you're traveling alone, but also when you're traveling with a group of people, whether it be 2, 3, 4, or like a whole set of people, you really, to make it good and ease your anxiety, like you really have to be in like a flow state.
Yeah.
You know,
You have to be ready for
you gotta be ready for the unexpected, and you cannot panic when it happens.
because it will.
Because it will, you know, and like I always tell people when I travel, my planning is I figure out where my head's going to be each night, usually. Where am I, like, what city am I going to be sleeping in?
Yeah.
But everything in between, like, doesn't really matter. Like, you can kind of figure it out as you go. I mean, I've even booked hotel rooms while I've been like on the airplane landing in the city, you know, or just walked into places before.
Yeah, I've done the same.
I've learned.
I think it's key.
Yeah, I learned that lesson from traveling to Southeast Asia, recently, Indonesia.
Yeah.
Because you try to plan, but you just can't. Like there's so much unexpected stuff that I had a taxi that I got off a ferry boat and then ordered a taxi or an Uber, whatever you like, a Southeast Asian Uber app.
Yeah.
His tire exploded on the way back to the hospital. Typical. And, and he gets out of the car and starts jacking up the car, and I'm just like sitting in the car, like, okay, he'll put a new tire on or something, and I'll keep going. He's like, you're gonna have to order a motorcycle.
Yeah. Shit.
So I'm like, okay, I have my backpack, 50-pound backpack with me.
Yeah.
I'm a cheap fuck because I just like I am.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and when I'm traveling, I'm trying to save money. I order the cheapest motorbike. The seat of the motorbike that pulls up is about 4 inches, 5 inches of seat. And I have
hold on for dear life.
And I have to. So a lot of them have good like hand placement to like hold, like grab. This one did not. And I hop on the back of it with my 50-pound backpack, and this guy's rips it, just like going.
Oh, he's cruising.
Going. We're dude. And the traffic is heavy. It's
Jesus.
It's nuts.
Ducking.
And I have like there's a little like metal triangle on the back that I can hook my 2 fingers under, and I'm like my
climber grip
hooked.
Yeah,
like this, and I just have to like use all my core strength to like, because when we first pull off, I almost fell off the bike because my backpack.
So heavy. Yeah.
And then I realized I have to do this for 35 minutes.
It was fucked up. That's crazy. It's stuff like that, man.
It was nuts.
Yeah, I think for me, the epitome of all that was my trip to Ireland. You know, I mean, I actually, when I was out there, I called that like trip. I was pretty much out there like questing through Ireland because I was out there with no itinerary, you know. And so that's what I called it. Like I was just out there questing. Like I had nowhere to go, and I flew to Ireland, and I flew in England, and then I hitched my way up in Ireland. Yeah. And so the only real main reason I went over in Ireland, besides the fact that I hadn't been there before, was there was one bar in Gort, Ireland, that is a small town south of Galway. And not very big, not very, very well known unless you're like Irish. And there was a Steelers bar there. And I made it like just my whole goal to just go there and watch a game.
Pitts fan.
And so, Pens fan, Steelers fan, you know, and it's this whole Steelers bar. And so I took a train. I actually ended up meeting these German girls on the train. And that turned into a whole thing later.
German girls.
I can't remember their names, but shout out the German girls who
Hipster havers.
Yeah, they put me up for a day, 2 days in their cottage, their summer cottage. Yeah. But so I went to Gort, and I went to the game, and then the woman who owned the bar, and she knew someone who put me up in a B&B across the street. It was super nice.
Incredible.
Yeah, I hitchhiked. Then I hitchhiked to a golf course. Played golf with some English folk, and then they gave me a ride to the next town south, and then I was at a pub like outside. I can't remember the name of the town, but it was outside the main town, and I'm drinking at the pub and I'm telling the guys my story, and it's like this couple, they're older, like my parents' age, and we're all getting bombed like at this pub, and at this point I'm like I don't even know where I'm gonna end up, like where I'm gonna stay, because at this point I like really know where to go. And the guy's like, you know what? I've never done this before, blah, blah. He's like, but you want to come and like just stay at our house? They had 2 kids, that were like 14 and 16. They're like, you want to just come back to our house and crash? And I was like,
So sick.
yup. So we all drive back to their place and end up crashing. And man, I wish for the love of me I could remember what their names were, because I just can't. But they showed me great hospitality, cooked me breakfast in the morning, like stayed in their spare room. They lived in this like castle, like 6,000 square foot castle on like 3 acres of land in Ireland. It was incredible. And yeah, and so then they ended up, the next town I was going to was to meet up with those German girls who were putting me up. And the one lady was like from that town. So her husband was like, I got no problem driving you down there. So he kind of drove me all the way into town. He drove me an hour out of his way. Because it was raining. He felt so bad because I was going to hitchhike. It was raining so bad. He's like, I'm going to drive you all the way there. So he ended up driving me an hour out there. It was just so nice of them. Amazing. I cannot speak enough of the Irish people. I mean, just incredible hospitality. Can't wait to, yeah. And then from there, Ennistimon is where that town was. There's the Cliffs of Moher, which is where my friends, like they had a cottage like not far from there. So I camped out with them. We're not camped. I stayed with them for like a day or two. That was really, really neat. And then I hitchhiked down the whole coast down there and all the way down to where I eventually got down to Count Carey, Valencia Island. Like what I was doing was I had these like loose connections. Like there's one friend I went to high school with, his dad, who I'm still kind of friends with, his family was from this one county in this area. And he's like, if you just show up and name drop me, who knows what's going to happen. And so I was looking for this guy, Donica Lynch. He is like the local legend down in Count Carey, Valencia Island, Chapelton. And he, everyone kind of knows this guy. This is kind of like a local legend. He's the sheep farmer, pint puller at Mike Mertz. Shout out Mike Mertz. Yeah. Great pubs if you're ever down in Valencia. But so I'm hitchhiking, and I think it took me like 9 hitches to get down there and 1 ferry. And the last guy who picked me up, I'm like telling him my story, and he's like, I'm on my way to work with this guy. With Donica Lynch. Like he knew him. He worked with him. That night he was doing to work a shift at the local like country club with him, because he worked as a pint puller at the country club as well. And so it was nuts. So then that guy, he's like, I got a spare Airbnb, just crash in my Airbnb, just make sure it's all like perfect when you're done. So he let me stay at his place down in Carsavine, I think is the name of the town off of Valencia Island. And so I stayed with him in Carsavine, well, not with him, but at his B&B. And then I was like, I would hitchhike to the ferry on the Valencia Island to like check it out and whatnot. And there's a lot to do there. It's a good, amazing place. It's where Star Wars was filmed, like the new Star Wars movie. At the end of it, the Skelligs, like, oh yeah, really, really cool, beautiful. Hiked all around there, but I was doing a lot of hitchhiking locally.
Do we still have battery?
Yeah, we cooked.
We're still good.
Okay.
Somehow, some way.
Real quick, since you might be a sponsor, plug your business really.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll finish the rest of the story just in case. Like,
my business, Student Labor Logistics, SLL. We work with various production companies across the United States to help procure student labor for them to put on various different productions or halftime shows. We do a lot of stuff like setting up and taking down gymnastics meets for USA Gymnastics and their affiliate production companies. Shout out LR Productions. They're our biggest customer. Love you guys. And then we also work with bigger companies such as like the NFL, helping them set up their halftime shows, pushing out the carts onto the field and then taking them off. Really what we do is help college students make a couple extra bucks on the side, doing like super cool gigs. You got to help out these production companies that are trying to, set up these various shows and productions, and the students get to not only work with all of their fraternity of friends or, group of buddies, but it's also low commitment. So they can make a couple extra bucks without having to really be locked into something. And the production companies love it because they love working with students. And it's cool work. It's like super satisfying when you put one of those shows out.
Working on a halftime show you worked on a
Shout out Snoop Dogg, Christmas Day holiday party. Helped them out, set that up. It was pretty
dude.
cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, my roommate got to play football with them. It was pretty fun.
Dude, that's sick. Hit us up if you guys if you have a production company and
Yeah,
you need
if you have
some labor.
if you have a production company and you're putting on production and you want the best labor in the business, essentially for what the going labor is a lot higher quality and the same price or more affordable than what the industry standard is for the labor. Yeah, beautiful. Let us know.
Great.
For sure.
All right, back to the
Back into Ireland. Yeah, I was doing a lot of local hitchhiking, so I ended up spending a little over a week in that town. And by the time I left, I was the local hitchhiker. Like everyone, and I literally, I don't think it would take me more than a minute to get picked up. And everyone it's such a small community. Everyone knew me,
Were you posting on Snapchat too?
Yeah, I've got it all. I've got the whole thing documented on my Snapchat. Yeah, me sticking my thumb out and whatnot. And it was so funny. You guys would have loved this. I was going over from Costa Vina over into the island, and I met this guy who I'd met like in a pub the night before or a couple nights before, and I just randomly ran into him again. He wasn't a local. He was there visiting, and I jumped in. He's like, "Hey man, we're all jumping into the ocean like as soon as we get over like on the other side of ferry." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" We all skinny dipped, like just pull through him and like three other girls, like all just jumped into the harbor. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Stuff like that was just a lot of fun, and I got a lot of opportunity to kind of help out with some of the local guys that were doing stuff there, particularly Donica. I got to help him herd his sheep from his mother's. I think it was his mother's sheep farm, and then we trailered some of them over to his sheep farm. And I think Lucky and Strike, his two sheep dogs, they were great. And that was also an experience for sure.
Sheep herd life is.
I got offered a herder. One of my biggest regrets, every Irish person who ever watches the pod will cringe when they hear this and tell them I made the best decision of my life. But one thing that I really regret is the owner, and for the love of me, I do not remember the guys. It's probably Mike. I think the guy's name is Mike Mert. He the pub, he tried to get me to go down to the bog and cut moss. I think it's moss or turf. That's what it's called. And apparently it's really rough and super hard. I didn't take him up on it, and I kind of regret it because it would have been such a like cool experience to go and do that, but everyone in the pub was like, don't accept this guy's offer because it's hell. It's like the hardest work of the entire year. Like you don't want to do it. And so I ended up not doing it.